My presentation is entitled Teaching Water Sustainability, Learning-Centered Strategies. When I use the term water sustainability, it's really a synonymous phrase with the term water security. Water security is the equitable availability of a suitable quantity and quality of water for health and well-being, with an acceptable level of water-related risks to people, environment, and economies. So we're really talking about equity, quantity, and quality. And we're including water that can be used for health, for industry, energy, and environment. As well, we're looking at responses and solutions that are sustainable. Pictorially, it looks like this. The water security happens in the nexus between quantity, quality of water, and equity, availability for all in the context of a changing climate. I'm using as my basis the directive from directive from UNESCO entitled Education for Sustainable Development. And this document proposes two major processes of collaboration and intercultural dialogue between stakeholders, and active and participatory learning for all students in the area of education. So this would include things like role-playing and simulations, critical incidents, problem-based learning, and fieldwork and outdoor learning. So my approach is to take content that deals with water security and water sustainability and add to that active learning tools in order to develop students to be better educated regarding sustainable development of water resources. So it looks like this. Active learning for water security is any engagement with course content that is learner-centered. It includes reflection alone and with your peers, and it results in a greater sense of care about the topic. This quote from Felder and Brent is, "True learning results from doing things and reflecting on the outcomes, not from passively receiving information, as is often done in lecture-based classroom settings." So I'll be taking a topic, each of these topics under the broad heading of water security, and basically presenting them with a few sentences, a few concepts, and then proposing an assignment that the students can do to bring home the message in a much more personal way, increasing, hopefully, care about the subject and a personal experience of the subject. So the metrics of water security is the way that we measure, quantify water security. And as you see there at the top right-hand side, water stress is the condition that results when there is less than or equal to 1,700 cubic meters per person per year in a particular country or region. Water scarcity is when there is less than 1,000 cubic meters per person per year. And the Water Resources Institute has calculated water risk with many countries across the globe, as you can see there on the map. So an assignment for students might be, where did your family come from? Learn about the history of your ancestors. How many generations removed are you? Now imagine that you are back in that country of origin, whether that's Germany, Poland, Mexico. Find out the level of water security in your country. If your country is it under stress or scarcity currently? And if so, what is being done to ameliorate the water insecurity? The context of water security is in large part the quantity of water in a changing climate. So if we look at a picture of Bangladesh, for example, a map of Bangladesh, we see that rainfall varies quite a lot across the spatial region of the country, as you can see there on the left, but it also varies temporally over the months of the year, seasons of the year. And you see the greatest rainfall happens in the period of May to about August. There, it's rainy season. So an assignment here might be to discover the spatial and temporal variation of rainfall in your particular state or region. So how does rainfall vary across your state or region, both spatially and by month, by time? How does this variation affect these variables within the state? Things like population centers, where people choose to live, commerce, recreation, agriculture, and transportation. And then finally, how has the annual rainfall varied as a result of climate change? So look at the data for the past 100 years and see if you can see how it has changed in your state or region. The context of water security also involves the quality of water. So in this little simple assignment, the student would perform 10 to 14 water quality tests using simple test kits available at Home Depot, for example, or Lowe's. And we invite them to do this test on tap water, well water, if they can get it, if they live in a rural area, and a carbonated soda, such as Coca-Cola. Which parameters might be expected in each of these sources of water? And how do your results compare with EPA drinking water quality standards? So they begin to do some very simple testing for these water quality parameters that you can see there in the picture: lead, total coliform, pesticides, etc. Context of water security involves also water equity. So remember, we said it includes water quantity, quality, and equity. The U.S. Water Alliance 3 years ago compiled 6 case studies in the U.S. where great inequities exist in water access. And so I invite the students to pick one of these case studies and present the case study to the class with images and photos to make the students aware that even in a developed country such as the U.S., some great inequities and disparities can exist. Water is very important for growing food, of course, but the water footprint of food varies greatly from beef, 15,415 liters per kilogram, to a tomato, which is only 214 liters per kilogram. So the assignment here is to keep a detailed record of the food you eat over a 3-day period. Then use a water footprint calculator to determine how much water was used to produce your food. How could you adjust your diet in order to use less water? So talk about how you would do that. And this is a great exercise to do in a group. You have the students divide up into a group and discuss their own particular diets and what they might do to use a less water-intensive diet. Water is used for energy. Most electrical power plants use water to mine the fuel, to transport the fuel, to generate steam to run turbines, and most of the water is used to cool the power plant. And so the assignment here would be to find out where your electricity comes from. Does it come from burning coal, natural gas, nuclear power, hydropower, etc.? Then calculate how much water is consumed in generating 1 month of typical household electricity. And we'll assume here 900 kilowatt hours per month. This brings home the message of water being used for generating your electricity, which you take for granted every day. Using this chart on the left, you might be able to determine how you might be able to save more energy and thus use less water. So you can see in the year 2009, much of the energy consumed in homes is via space heating and air conditioning. So you might look at ways that you could reduce your usage of both of these components to save water. Water is essential for human life, and you see there on the left-hand side that water is a very strong component of most of the vital organs in our bodies. We are mostly composed of water. And when we are lacking water, in the case of dehydration, our immune system becomes weak. our blood pressure gets elevated, we might have headaches or brain damage, we might suffer from fatigue or urinary infections even. And so an assignment might be to create solidarity with those who thirst. We might consider asking the students to perform a Ramadan fast, abstain from water for one day between sunrise and sunset. This fasting is a way to be in solidarity with those who have to go without water for hours or even days, in order to create empathy and sympathy towards these folks. But after we do this, we want to reflect on the experience. How did you feel? How did you feel in your body, and how did you feel in spirit? These assignments could go well with a new textbook that we've just produced called Fundamentals of Water Security, co-authored by myself and Dr. David Sabatini. The topics are listed here. Most of the topics are listed here: water inequity, context of a changing climate, water for food, energy, industry, environment, mitigation of drought and flooding, desalination, water reuse, water supply planning, a water ethic, and so forth. So this would provide the content for the education for sustainable development, and along with the assignments that I've just mentioned, would make a nice way of bringing home to the students the vital challenges of water security. I'll leave you with this final image. Water security is a local issue. That is, there may be fresh water available worldwide for everyone, but if it's not available in a local area, then it's all the more important to remedy this great inequity. And it's a life issue, not only a life issue for human beings, but for animals, mammals, and plants that depend on this. Are there any questions?